Gary, Indiana, a steel town now a shadow of itself. Built on the southern shore of Lake Michigan in the late 1900s, sand dunes were leveled to create the foundation for U.S. Steel. Gary rose to national prominence, a shining example of planned community, education, cultural significance. By the end of the century, the shifting sands of the global economy hastened its decline. For Earl Smith, Jr., it's only a memory. Smith remembers his dad, an elite track star Gary Frabel. College scholarships were offered. Michigan State beckoned. With a family on the way, his father chose work in the steel mills to secure their future. As a Roosevelt High School long jumper, Earl Jr. became a two-time state champion.
That's 1951. That's Roosevelt's first state championship in track. And then we came back my senior year and won it again. Where am I on this picture? Right here. I won the state championship in the long jump both years. This is the year I broke the record. 23, 2.5. Look at this. Deceased, 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 no, deceased, 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 deceased. That's it. I think it's 2 of us on our team that left.
A distinguished athletic career at Iowa led to many post-collegiate opportunities. Instead, he chose to return home. Smith is a Gary icon. He was there in Gary's halcyon days with 9 thriving public high schools. Gone are Edison, Frabel, Mann, Tolliston, Wallace, Wirt, and of course, his beloved Emerson.
It's very difficult to drive around and see that amount of decay on buildings, particularly if you're a resident of Gary.
It's historical for me from the point of view that I was the first African American to coach in this building. And this was the #1 school. This is the oldest school in the city of Gary, Emerson #1. I had a lot of memories. I came in 1970, I stayed 10 years. And during that time, we were able to sort of manifest ourselves as one of the basketball powerhouses in the state. Talent emerged from here. Like, we didn't have a gym. We walked 2.5 miles down the road to practice. Like, all kind of weather and everything, but the kids did that. But yet we had, 7-footer, Wallace Brand, all those guys had come through here. But sometimes, you have to take advantage of what you have, but they were motivated to do something about it because everybody kind of looked down on Emerson. We were small in enrollment. I took my son out one day. I just want to show you what your grandfather had to go through. It's just hard to imagine that distance to walk going to work, because you're supposed to get there on time. You know what I mean? But, that's what he did. And then when he did get a used car, worked 3 different jobs, because we used to help him. He cleaned up the post office, trustee office, and someplace else he worked, besides working the regular job. So the work ethic was there, like my sister, Cynthia Early Rogers. He had 5 kids, and all of us had college degrees. all of us.
You the youngest, oldest?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest.
Oldest, yeah.
You were the first.
I was the first.
You were Dad's kid.
Yeah. This here is this is one of Gary's all-time greats. That's my dad, Gary Frable. Unbelievable what they accomplished during that time. He had a scholarship to go to Michigan State back during the late 30s. Didn't take it. But I didn't come half to being the athlete that he was. I was telling that all the time. Yeah.
A lot of these structures are important from an architectural history standpoint. Seeing the city as ruins is not respectful to the people who live here and work here.
City Methodist Church, abandoned in 1975, epitomizes Gary's slow fall into ruin. In the 50s, it had 3,000 members. When it closed, only 300.
The church has an atmosphere conducive to the element of violence. And I just don't think that's a good setting for kids to be in, because you want that total development of love and respect and all the things that you can do as an adult and as a teacher. I mean, to me, that's destroyed to some extent when all I see is somewhat chaos across the way.
The whole charter school story just didn't start with the state of Indiana. It started in other parts of the country, primarily for those who realized that money to be made in this country was in public education. And if you're going to make money in public education, it has to be through the privatization of schools. But generally when it started, it usually is in underserved communities, minority communities. Other communities don't allow it to occur to the degree that it has started in urban communities, because they know that people in urban communities don't have the defense mechanism to ward off those kinds of things.
And then you look at a lot of kids, they're not coming out of ideal situations at home. And to be reinforced with that in another setting, I don't think it's positive. I mean, you try to create the best atmosphere that you can. But when I look at Louise being closed, I mean, there's nothing even in the district. We need a school. I mean, there's nothing there that would really encourage parents to really want to even move in that area, because, you got to have a solid school situation.
In the cold winter of 2019, pipes burst in the Roosevelt building. Costly repairs were deemed unaffordable. The future of Roosevelt's historic building is undetermined.
To close Roosevelt would be detrimental to this district.
His fear became reality.
It's difficult for me personally, because I know the history of Roosevelt. I know where we come from in terms of having practice facilities, having good coaching, having people involved, people that were there for you as a kid that you can go and talk to. Now there's a situation where we've been moved from not only our school, but we don't have a gymnasium.
Students were moved to the Gary Career Center. Roosevelt remained shuttered the following year.
Roll to the basket.
Without a gymnasium, boys and girls teams, thanks to the local YMCA, started practice for their season.
And like I tell my kids all the time, it's not what you have, it's what you make of it.
Ready, go.
And that's what I'm trying to instill in them, that, hey, just because we're not in our home gym doesn't mean that we don't come in and practice and work hard. And I'm trying to prepare them for obstacles in life. And so this is just a beginning.
11, 12, 12, 13.
There's nothing wrong with the gym. We should be able to utilize that gym right now. Our kids shouldn't be in here.
Good job.
Kia Matthews is the girls' head coach. She's a Roosevelt alum, and the current situation takes a toll.
but I can't let them see me hurting because then it kind of puts a damper on them. I'm hoping that they will come to some resolution where they can open up my school again.
Well, the Career Center is not a good place for those children. How do I know? I was the principal there.
I go in the Gary Career Center now. So for me to be in there every day, knowing that it's really not Roosevelt, but to be able to still give those kids a sense of pride and a sense of what Roosevelt really means to me, it's been tough.
That building is not set up for a general education population. It's for technology and vocational. And so therefore, you would want to take a person out of a facility that was the state of the art and move them into something that is less than a garage. But the public doesn't know that.
It is disheartening to see the gym empty and see the young people not able to play. As a former athlete, I know the importance of that, and as a former point guard, I know what it means to see the floor.
The battle between Gary Community Schools, Edison Learning, and the state, I have to take myself out of the equation and say, while they try to figure it out, my first duty is to the kids that I service every day.
Edison Learning is a Florida-based academic service provider. In 2017, the company was contracted by the state of Indiana to run the academic curriculum at Roosevelt High School. Gary Community Schools maintains the building. The collaboration is not without its critics, and an on-site visit found the Indiana State Board of Education split on the next moves in Roosevelt's future.
First, the state takeover of the school, then the disrepair of the building, and you know, the easy thing is to find a money tree, right?
That's one side of the story. That is not completely the true story.
The more challenging aspect is to determine what can be done, what should be done.
It's not controlled by the Gary Community School Corporation. It's primarily Edison Learning, which is a profit-making organization. Profit-making organizations are not going to take the major portion of their profit and reinvest in trying to improve and maintain a facility.
At the end of the day, you want to make sure that our children have the opportunity to be educated. You know, as difficult as it is for me to say that, it might not be in that building.
Gary's future is unwritten. Its past storied. The present, a question mark. Brad Miller works to save and revitalize places that matter, the mission of Indiana Landmarks.
The city of Gary is just internationally a very important city, representing the zenith of American growth. At the turn of the 20th century, the economy's booming, huge immigration into the U.S., and that's seen in the Gary landscape today. The decline of Gary, following 1960s, 1970s, where it was faced with big industry leaving, global forces that were kind of out of their control, that we see across a lot of the Midwest and the U.S. as a whole.
And so to see it in its current state, it is depressing. There was certainly a mass exodus of businesses and people out of Gary who chose not to want to remain.
Anytime that you see a tremendous drain on a population of the city, oftentimes you lose the voices of the people who could make a difference.
So in 1968, Mayor Hatcher was elected, the first African-American mayor of a city this large. And that created a lot of cultural and social strife, animus between a lot of the social groups in Gary, causing a lot of white flight, which you see in other cities as well. You start to see Gary struggling to kind of stand on its own economically with a huge landscape with a dwindling population.
What you find, and I call it a disorderly departure. With the decline in industry, there was a disorderly departure in many places where people just packed up their clothing and left. In many of the abandoned houses that you see right now, they're fully furnished. In many instances, it was foreclosed upon. They've been victimized by subprime lenders. All of that has happened here in this community. And as a result, you have what you see, which is just a quilt of blight in places, whereas in other places you have vibrant housing, vibrant neighborhoods, vibrant blocks.
Gary has had his unfair share of treatment or maltreatment or mistreatment, and there's a variety of reasons why. I mean, we're a majority minority population. Sometimes when you get a stigma, you get a reputation, no matter how hard you try to work to undo that.
So you're out in the community, and I'm sure that you drive past places like Emerson,
Right.
and Mann, and Lew Wallace, and you look at those buildings, and
All
you know
of
there's
that,
not.
yes. I'm worried about it because at least we could brag about how Roosevelt was like the last standing, was besides West Side. But now, I don't know. The only good thing that they keep saying is that they cannot tear it down because it's deemed historical. So we'll see.
How do you keep Roosevelt as a viable building for educating children? Is there a chance that that might happen?
You know, sentimentally, I'd say I sure hope so. Realistically, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think because of the overall financial morass that the city is in, it's going to be extremely difficult to restore dear old Roosevelt.
Maybe the years of high school and all the Panther pride could be over, but I think if we just leave it standing and keep it in good, board it up, just keep the grass cut, it's a beautiful monument.
So somewhere in line, we have to continue to remember that a place like Roosevelt is a place that needs to be saved. And the bottom line is that the stakeholders are the children and the community. And those stakeholders have to take ownership and to cause the change to occur the way that it's needed.
What Smith found inside the abandoned Lew Wallace Gymnasium, where he played and coached, was unsettling. When Gary's school administrators locked the doors, leaving trophies of achievement behind, echoing a reference to other desperate departures.
I'm taking this out of here.
They set in motion a countdown to extinction. Coach's dream for a better outcome vanished in the harsh light of reality.
I think that people, they have a wrong vision as to what Gary's all about. Genuinely, we have some great people in this city. Loving, caring people. Authors Conference, fall banquet, girls track field. And I think that sometimes we sort of reflected to the world or maybe to the state that this is not a great place to be in. Yes, we made some mistakes, but I definitely believe that we need to change the way people envision Gary, Indiana. You mean tell me that somebody wouldn't want this? I've had all kinds of chances to leave the city, but I always felt that this was home. I'm just happy that I didn't go to some of these places that I had a chance to go to, because I feel like there's still something for you to do here in this city.